Live from Concord, North Carolina, we bring you race number 18 of the second season of the FTF Grand National Series, presented by Barr Visuals. This is Flatout Racing Network's coverage of the Kickin' the Tires 148.5 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Seth Cole alongside of Scott Rankin, and Scott obviously picking up the race last week, the last race down the stretch for STN, Blake McCandless and that crew over there, giving us an exciting race at Monza to begin this race here tonight at Charlotte. But I look here and I had to do a couple of double takes to see the race length. 99 laps here at this 1.5 mile D-shaped speedway. A lot of times we're not really used to seeing a race at Charlotte of any kind being less than 100 laps, so it's going to be kind of like a sprint here tonight for over 40 drivers in the field.
Yeah, I mean, talk about in order of things, that extra lap worth of fuel, that extra lap worth of tires. Time to go gangbusters, boys. Let's go. Let's get them. We don't have to say that extra lap of fuel. We don't have to say that extra lap of tires. I can push just that much harder. Let's go get them.
Adam Sweet gonna start on the pole position for tonight's event. You take a look at your starting grid here this evening. A total of 46 drivers are scheduled to take the green flag here tonight at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and it's going to be really interesting to see with the fact that we have that many drivers on the track. Normally a full field would be about 40 drivers, and we have obviously exceeded that here tonight. This is kind of typical of what the Grand National Series used to do at their road courses, where they would have upwards of between 45 to 60 drivers, and they're doing it here at a mile-and-a-half track. So how congested is it going to be going into these corners?
Oh, it's going to be congested right the way through. I mean, the benefit is at Charlotte, you know, they can sort everything out, get themselves settled down pretty quickly, but expect there to be lots of side-by-side action for nearly the entire race. There are going to be guys, you know, stuck in that dirty air. There's only going to be one car that's going to be running on that clean air. Expected to go multi-wide racing right the way throughout tonight's race. I tell you what, here we go, boys!
Green flag in the air as Adam Sweet going to lead Brian Mercurio into turn number 1. Mercurio is going to slot into second place, right in front of Cosmonish and Oshu in third, and Matthew Zwack in the 18 going to line up fourth as they're 3 wide back there, and we've got our first caution on lap number 1.
Yeah, something happened right at the tail end of the field. It's going to be way back there in the high 40s. That's going to be having something happen. I'm just trying to pick up who was the car that ended up, I saw around. Haven't been able to grab who it was, but there was one car, a black colored car around. Looks like it might have been potentially. No, it wasn't the 86. Sorry, my apologies. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure who it was that was around there at the back of things to start things off. Actually, I do know now. It's the 98 car.
And Rice in the 98. Looks like some damage as well on the right front of the 82 of Victor Valley. So caution's going to fly for the first time here tonight. Let's take a look and see what happened. This was obviously over in turns 1 and 2. First couple of corners on the first lap of this race. Actually, it looks like might have actually been Victor Valley in the 82 because the 98 started from pit road. He's going to make some contact here with, I believe that was the 27 possibly of Tristan Hagenstein that was to his outside at the time here. Nope, correction, that was the 04 of Tyler Lannon.
Yeah, it looks like, just having a look through it, it's actually stemmed from there was a lot of guys, because you've got a 46 car field, right? So there's effectively, what's that, 23 rows on the grid? So whenever a car ahead of you makes a small change in their speed, the next car behind you makes a small change in their speed, the next car, and then you get this real concertina effect, right? It's kind of like, you ever played with a slinky? It's kind of like a slinky. You stretch it out, and things bunch up together again. You get all these cars right next to each other. That's what happens. The longer the field, the more chance there is for that sort of to happen. That's basically effectively what happened. Victor Valley, the car behind him, the 04 car, just sort of didn't really realize what he was checking up for. Wasn't 100% sure. He wasn't nice and smooth with the gas right the way field. It's, you know, early issues with guys like that. Guys coming down to top off on fuel though, so I think, especially for the guys at the rear of the field, it's a good idea. Get that fuel tank back to maximum. Win it in the strategy race, boys.
Didn't look like a lot of damage really there on Victor Valley. Just a little bit of visible right front damage. He should be good to go and be able to continue this race on. as we had a couple of drivers hit pit lane here, and we will wait to be able to put these guys back under the green flag. Hopefully they'll be able to turn their first green flag lap of the evening here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. It gives us an opportunity here under pacing to talk about a couple of more preliminary stuff. First off, noticing a little bit of cloud cover all of a sudden creeping in here. We started this race in sunlight, and already we've got at least the back straightaway over to 3 and 4 bathed in a little bit of cloud cover. Those drivers will have to deal with the changing track conditions and the difference in temperature during the course of this race. Right now, we're looking in the triple digits at 121 degrees for the track temperature, and that will continue to go up and down as this race goes on, with the fact that we've got quite a few big clouds hovering around that sun here, and we'll continue to have that during the course of these 99 laps.
The track temperature to vary all that much. It'll hover right around 49 degrees, 50 degrees Celsius for those of us that live in non-freedom unit sections of the world. Yeah, so it'll vary, probably 5 to 6 degrees in terms of the old Fahrenheit system, so, you know, there'll be a little bit of track temperature variation, but either way, it's going to be a really, really hot track. Grip level's going to be towards the minimum, looking for guys to settle in. Remember, they've done quite a fair bit of time out there on the track, you know, practice an hour and 10 minutes, qualifying 5 minutes, a warm-up session as well, just for everyone to sort of set themselves in stone. Track is started off 100% clean, so 0% on the track state right at the start of the race, right at the start of the practice session. Building up that rubber as we move right the way through. No cleaning of the track, which is what I was just having a look for. So you'll see those times start to come down as the race progresses. With a local time of 3:50 in the afternoon, the track temperature may dip down a little bit towards the back end of the race as well. So that's your race scenario.
Let's take a look here at the point standings. Obviously, a good chunk of the regular season still to be run before we determine who our playoff contenders are going to be. And right now, as it looks, you know, some drivers right now already making clear cases for themselves to advance into the playoffs. Andrew Schwartz has been very consistent this season. Jonathan Oates right up there as well. But if you look back there around Jake Poole and Ryan Araki, those are the guys right now that are on the hot seat trying to hold off Evan Rice, Jake Painter and company to try and clinch those final spots. And obviously, as far as the playoffs are concerned as well, you know, another name might possibly be popping up into the playoff picture after last week. Mentioned the fact there was a nail-biter at Monza last week, and it ended up being guy running in 9th place right now, Rudy Valentine, holding off Brian Mercurio and Justin Malillo in a 3-wide finish to the start-finish line with utter chaos off the final turn to pick up his first win of the season. Now, you know, if he ends up Valentine makes some more starts here during the course of this season, he could very well be popping up into a playoff picture here when we get towards the end of the regular season.
Yeah, so a lot for these drivers to contest with. You know, don't forget that we're going to have our 2-hour endurance round coming up at Bathurst in a couple of weeks' time as well. That is going to be phenomenal. If you want to see guys handle difficult to handle cars on a road course, and a road course is incredibly challenging, as well as a road course that is, well, I'm an Aussie. I have to back it in. It is my favorite road course in the game. Are you kidding me? You know, that's going to be... And it's an endurance race, you know, 2 hours around a road course. Who's going to crack under the pressure, you think, going to Bathurst?
Oof, I don't know. I can name you some drivers. I think there'll be some favorites heading into that, but I don't know about those drivers that are going to have that crossed off on their list and just kind of have maybe the word survival written over it as Adam Sweet gets us back under the green flag. Battle's going to be for the second position as Alex Kolonix in the 222 is going to pull up to the back bumper of Brian Mercurio. He was actually really fast, was Kolonix in practice, and he's showing it here on the short run speed, moving up to P3. Behind him, Cosmin Ishinoshu gets by Jordan Worth up to 4th place.
Yeah, action right throughout the field. You know, like I said, multiple scenarios where guys are getting runs, getting by. But remember, ladies and gentlemen, it's Charlotte. What is the factor at Charlotte that is key? It's looking after those tires. Look after that right front, baby, because they are going to be so many different long runs throughout this race. Yeah, we're going to caution early, but watch these guys settle in very quickly now. They'll sort of sort themselves out. In fact, most of the field is just about single filed out now.
Jordan Worth and that Stacy Compton throwback in the 92 right now, still holding down that 5th position. And behind them, we talked about him just moments ago with the point stand, second in the current points. Jonathan Oates holding down 6th place, trying to hold off last week's winner, Rudy Valentine.
Yeah, Yeah, congratulations to Rudy Valentino on the win at Monza too. It'd be interesting cars for an interesting circuit. Not easy by any stretch of the imagination, and these cars don't want to go through corners at high load scenarios with lots of momentum and try and keep that thing glued to the road. So he's done a phenomenal job to bring home the win there, and once again punching above his weight again out here this week.
It'll be interesting to see. As mentioned, 99 laps doesn't seem like a whole long race for these guys to have to deal with. And so with that being said, usually when it was the shorter races last year in the Grand National Series, you would see Andrew Schwartz qualify up towards the front. His moniker in the long races was to always qualify towards the back, kind of ride and then move up into the top 10 in the closing stages. He's done the same thing here in this race, but I'm wondering if maybe with the fact that it's a somewhat shorter race, if he might not want to have adapted his strategy, because that's a lot of cars that he's going to have to pass here in the next 90 laps or so.
Oh, I mean, yeah, next 90 laps or so, it's still a long race. There's still a lot of opportunities here. I mean, the biggest thing that he can be doing right now is, I wouldn't be forcing anything. Just pick them off one by one as they come, one by one as the opportunities present themselves. Like I said, look after that right front tire. If you can give yourself a little bit of tire left over, you're just going to start picking off guys like it's going out of fashion. It's nearly going to be like ringing the dinner bell later on, if you can basically look after that right front, especially being back there in the pack. I mean, some good opportunities are going to present themselves. You just got to be there to claim them.
Here's a look ahead from points leader Andrew Schwartz. And cars as far as the eye can see, as that's Tyler Lannon, who got a little bit of damage from the lap 1 incident. Actually, there's the car that he made contact with, the 82 of Victor Valley, just in front as they go by him as well. This is around the 30th position, this battling going on right now. Back up to the front, where we find our race leader is starting to check out just the least little bit. He's opened up some daylight between himself and Brian Mercurio, about maybe 7 car lengths back to the 62. Brian Mercurio, though, I'll tell you what, keep an eye on him, because this 62 team, they are trying to win the Owners' Championship. That ride has been piloted by several drivers. Kyle Riley's been in the 62 at the Super Speedways. Mercurio's been in that ride for a number of starts this season. Coke Series driver Blake Reynolds, who was in the championship hunt in last season's Grand National Series. He's taken a couple of turns behind the wheel. And also Xfinity driver Ryan Vargas has been behind this Toyota Supra. So obviously, some really big names, some really good drivers behind the wheel. Of course, Brian Mercurio in the Road to Pro Series, and trying to see if he could put that 62 in victory lane for another time this season, continue to grow their points lead in the Owners and Team Championship.
Yeah, a really good opportunity for them, and that's when I look at FTF, what's one of the big draw cards, the big factors? It's definitely the quality list of some of the drivers that are certainly out there that are racing. I mean, you mentioned it, Road to Pro, guys that are really out there, really high up in the I rating scheme of things, and a lot of these guys get the chance to be out on track with them. But then also the rotating driver scheme, I think it's just a really, really good opportunity for a bunch of guys who enjoy driving cars to go out there and have a good time with a bunch of other guys who are enjoying driving cars, And look at the field size that we've got here tonight, and I think the series definitely showcases all of those aspects.
Without a doubt. Let's take a look at some of the other guys right now that would be up in the playoffs right now. We looked at Schwartz and we looked at Oates. Another guy that's running just outside the top 10 right now, 12th place. That's where we find the 93 of Nathan Rabidok. I'll tell you what, the landscape of the field has drastically changed in terms of the names here. I mean, right now, if I were to name off all the drivers I recognize from last season, I'd maybe be naming about maybe a quarter of the field, if that many. Lot of new talent, lot of new faces here in this second season, and I'll tell you, we've really mixed it up too. We have had multiple drivers go to victory lane here in the first 17 races on the season. I just feel we're just going to continue that streak going down the home stretch of this regular season, heading towards the playoffs.
This is good to see as well. We're only, what are we, halfway through just past halfway point of the season as it stands at this point in time, and a lot of different tracks. We talked about Bathurst, but there's a lot of different tracks and a lot of different opportunities as the caution flag's going to fly.
Caution's going to come out for the second time here tonight.
018. It's the 018 car that's caused it. I don't know why.
It's Omar Diallo. There's another car there as well. I believe that's the 035. And yes, it is. That is Brett Punkari, who is actually a driver right now that is sitting in a playoff spot. And it looks like maybe the 033 of Isaac Johnson might have gotten a piece of this as well. There's a couple other drivers you see right there on pit lane with a lot of front-end damage that might have been collected up in this one as the caution flies for the second time here tonight on lap 17.
It just looks. I'm just coming back and checking it out. Looks like the 00 machine of Ryan Shelton gets into the rear of Isaac Johnson 033, which just he tries to catch it, tries to gather it up, doesn't quite get there. I mean, it could be that. Alternatively, it's not 100%. Okay, so just coming through, wreck caused by the 00 from race control. So it was, yeah, contact caused to the rear end of the 033 by the 00. So he'll receive an end of line penalty. He'll start at the rear end of the field this next restart by.
The pretty hard hits there, and you may have seen the green car. There he is, actually top right of your screen, leaving the scene of the accident. That was your points leader, Andrew Schwartz. Talked about him starting towards the back. That's the risk you run when you're back in traffic like that, and he got a pretty hard hit on his subway machine.
Oh no, that's not good. That's not what you want to see, especially. I mean, look, it's a long season, and ultimately, drivers are going to have these races where they're not performing to their ultimate ability and can't really showcase all of their talents and those sorts of things. But look, I mean, it's part and parcel of life. If you're going to show up to a racetrack, things like this are going to happen from time to time, and you got to take your beats. Yeah, nothing he could have done there. That's unfortunate, but I'm sure he'll get back out on track and make sure he tries to continue scoring some points.
Just about everybody decided to come to pit road under this caution, with the exception of 3 drivers, Jordan Worth, Nate Stewart, and Luke Breitschop. They're all going to stay out. Ryan Shelton stays out because obviously he was the penalty car. He'll be coming to pit road this lap. We'll see if the 92 is going to duck onto pit lane this lap. Might have just stayed out for the bonus point. Nope. He and the 13 and the 056, they're going to stick to their guns. So looks like they will be the 3 to lead us to green over the fresh tires of Adam Sweet, Brian Mercurio, Alex Kolonix, and company, who were first through third when that caution came out. They will now be restarting back 4th through 6th. This is going to give us an opportunity now to be able to find out as well what the difference is between fresh tires and old. We know that Charlotte is one of those tracks that as you get longer and longer on the run, it is going to wear those tires down. I didn't really take much of an opportunity there under that run to see the difference between the laps they were laying down on the fresh tires and laps laid down about 15 lap older tires, but this will give us a clear case of knowing just how much of sitting ducks would these top 3 be when the green flag flies once again.
So, I mean, Jordan Worth is probably a really good opportunity to have a look at it. On his qualifying lap, 30.971, so just barely under the 31 threshold. Right at the end of that run, he was a 32.0, so he's dropped just about a second a lap. So very quickly, he's going to get eaten up by the guys behind him. And I mean, you're going to see that on this next run. It's going to take a lot of patience. 46 car field has been whittled down by a couple, but does not matter. You're still going to drive by 3 guys that are on those older tires. You got to look after it. You got to make space for them. I think they've made potentially a race-defining decision here early on.
Of those drivers that were involved in that wreck that we saw, it looks like a few of them are going to be multiple laps down as a result. Andrew Schwartz -2, Isaac Johnson and Omar Diallo, they are -4 as they still sit on pit road. We'll keep you abreast there on the 67, as obviously he came in with a somewhat decent points lead between himself and Jonathan Oates, but Oates right now up inside of the top 10, 7th here on this restart, as 80 laps to go here at Charlotte, and Jordan Worth on those older tires trying to hold off Nate Stewart in the 13, who's got the top side going.
Here it comes, and they're 3 wide just in behind this as well. Don't forget that. There's a car sideways. Triple twos in the fence.
Kolonix dropping to the back. Everybody gives room. There's more smoke back there. Somebody else is around. Couldn't tell who that was, but it was over in 3. They're now spinning onto pit road entry.
There's an 87 I see back there, the 98. 030 is in pit lane. There's a fair few guys caught up in this one. This is going to be a massive sort of regather it up.
It's Donovan Strauss in the 030. 035 is on pit lane here of Brent Pancari. We'll go back and see if we can find out just exactly who it was that got out of shape. I almost wonder if this might have been in reaction to the 222 of Kalani's going up into the wall, or if it was its own separate incident over there in turn 3. But nonetheless, it brings out the caution for the third time here tonight as we are closing in on a third of the way through this race.
So you got to remember, so a couple things that were happening in that sort of restart zone. You got 3 guys on older tires. You've got to be respectful of that. The whole field sort of strung itself out. Everyone's sort of grabbing those couple spots. The 222 looks like he got net coated. Unfortunately, not much he can really do there. He's just sort of out of sorts. It's actually a complete and utter separate separate accident. I tell you what, Victor Valley's been caught up in it again. Oh, shock a night for him.
It's like the car that went spinning down towards the pit wall was the 98 of Evan Rice. You're going to see here, he actually gets out of shape going into turn 3, and you'll see the contact up to his outside that led to this caution. Hard to tell who that was that got him from behind, but then drifts up and collects up another machine there, and then Evan Rice.
So Tyler Williams in the 34 gets into the back of the 98 machine, and then drifts up and collects the 87 as well. So it's kind of like 10-pin bowling. He's come through into the corner, picked up one on the inside, and gone through and collected up one on the outside.
It was hard to tell there from that little bit of a smoke trail from the 98 of Evan Rice if he got the pit wall or not. Just saw his car on pit lane, and the hood is missing. So yeah, looks like he did.
Yeah, he got the barrels
trying to get onto pit road.
It wasn't attempting to get to pit road. It was just trying to save it. He's really trying to catch the car, trying to either get into the pits or go back to the right and stay onto the track. One of the two. It doesn't matter which one. Hits it right in the middle. That's unlucky for him.
Caution going to fly for the third time here tonight. A couple of the drivers that had stayed out elected to come down pit road this time. Nate Stewart, however, is going to continue to stay out there. He has not made a pit stop since the drop of the green flags. Looks like it'll be an all-Supra front row with himself and Brian Mercurio when we go back green flag racing. Adam Sweet, Cosmonician No-Shoe, they'll be row 2. Jonathan Oates and Matt Danson, they're going to be row 3. Matthew Zwack, who had the pole last week at Monza, he'll be rolling off 7th. The Monza winner, Rudy Valentine, alongside him in 8th. Wesley Parker, Will Rogers, scheduled to be your top 10 when we get the green flag. And it looks like we may have to wait another lap here for the pace car's lights to go out, indicating us going back to green flag racing at Charlotte.
All right, so a lot to gather up out of that one, and a couple things to sort of look through. Did the tire strategy necessarily work? I think it has. I think it's worked differently for a couple of different drivers. I think the 056 is probably on the incorrect strategy, and I think you'll find him now towards the tail end of the field. Yeah, Luke's now down in 30th, so he's just coming through free service this lap. So I think he's actually doing quite okay. He's going to have a slight tire advantage, but it's going to be nothing. If anything, there's going to be no real pace advantage. And I'm talking slight tire advantage. I'm talking slight, like a couple of percent. There's nothing in it. Let's take a look at the other guys that did not pit. Was it 13 as well of Nate Stewart? No, and Nate Stewart, I think, come down pit road on the last caution. No, he hasn't.
No, he's not. Nope, he's still out there on the tires he started this race on.
Yeah, so, I mean, the strategy's worked quite well for him. I think he's in a really good spot, potentially. If there's another caution after this one, he's in a perfect spot. That's exactly where he really wants to be. So, good opportunity for him to really stay up front and show his wares.
Only 2 drivers this season that are able to run for the Grand National Series Championship have gone to victory lane. Most of the other wins have been won by either Cup drivers or drivers that are running part-time here in the Grand National Series. Those 2 drivers are Jake Poulin, who is not in the field here tonight, and Brett Picari. And we've seen Picari involved in an incident here tonight, so it looks like barring him getting back up here and maybe being able to make something out of this, as he's right now 3 laps down, looks like the odds are that we may end up having another part-time driver go to victory lane, but I'm seeing some names up here that could very easily, that are still running for the Grand National Series Championship, that could possibly snipe away a victory. One of them is leading this race. Nate Stewart, you talked about how the scenario could play into his hands. Right now showing the way. You got Jonathan Oates back there in that 5th position. I mean, you got Rudy Valentine back there coming off that win from Monza. I mean, if he's able to become a 2-time winner, he's going to leapfrog up through the point stands and certainly make his presence felt as a possibility of being up there inside the playoff grid. So there's still an opportunity here tonight for us to maybe see our third Grand National Series driver pick up a victory this season.
Yeah, so there's, and that's just it. I think what you mentioned in the most important part about that is opportunity. Give yourself an opportunity. Play yourself in terms of strategy into the hands. Early start here from Nate Stewart, and he's actually gapped them on the restart. That's a very strong restart from Nate Stewart.
We'll see how long 25-lap-old tires can hold off the tires of drivers that only have maybe about half a green flag lap on them. Cosmonish and Noshu being pinned down by Brian Mercurio. Those two going to battle for second place. They've got Adam Sweet and Jonathan Oates stacked up behind them in a side-by-side battle for fourth.
Yeah, now you really start to see the tire difference. So Nate Stewart got out to that really nice, strong early lead. It's all but going right now. His momentum is going to be slightly down on the rest of these guys. So it's going to be really, really close here. And I think anyone who's pushing themselves to the inside here through 1 and 2 is going to really be hampered. They need to be in that outside line if they want to get by him.
Well, contact possibly there. The right rear of Vision Noshu to the left front of our pole sitter Adam Sweet. The 55 starting to drop through the field, and not so much so the fact of the contact, but the fact it lost him a ton of momentum.
Checking up in the middle of the corner, the 84 machine trying to get to Nate Stewart's rear corner and get to his outside. Not quite able to get there is Cosman, and unfortunately it's checked up that whole outside lane. You know whose hands this plays into? Brian Mercurio. Got by him nice and quickly, got by him nice and cleanly. He's off and out into a lead.
Riding on board here with our Talladega winner from earlier on this season, Gary Waterworth in the 12, and take a look at what he sees up ahead of him. That's 3 wide going into turn 3.
And Nate Stewart's in the middle of that. Cosman basically got to the point where he said, I've had enough of this. I'm coming by. He's going to make contact with the 05 machine on the outside as well from Matt Danson. So Danson come down the road a little bit. Unfortunately, the 84 of Cosman, he had to drift up a little bit just to keep the car on the track and make the move done. It's part and parcel of racing, boys.
Yeah, muscling drivers out of his way as Cosmonish and Noshu now up to 4th place. Matt Danson, who had that contact with him off of 4, brushed the wall a little bit. He was under fire from Matthew Zwack. Now he's going to hang on to 6th place. Zwack looks in his rearview mirror. Comes the 005 of Will Rogers now cracking up into the top 10.
Actually, I'm just keeping my eyes on Nate Stewart here. He's falling like a rock. He's getting past in the last corner off of 3 and 4. He got passed by 4 separate rows of 2x2 cars. 4 separate rows. So that's 8 cars he got passed by. Add in another couple of cars that were single file there. He is falling like a rock. He needed that early caution. Hasn't gone his way. Strategy misfire.
And he is continuing to drop. 24th is where he's currently scored, and now looks like he's going to drop outside of the top 25. Things getting somewhat single-filed up amongst the top 11 or 12. You got to drop back here to our pole sitter Adam Sweet. He's under fire from the 70 of Zach Hudson. That's for the 13th position. Mark Kissenweather in this mix. Tristan Hagenstein as well. Hagenstein has really been on the move. He's picked up 15 spots since the drop of the green flag. Was back in the vicinity of the first caution, but just barely was able to skate his way through.
I think I just heard someone say reckon. No, I didn't. So there's still green flag under things. Yeah, look, I mean, like I said, a lot of these guys are looking to get that single file out because they really don't want to be going too wide. When I was talking about tire conservation, tire management, that rings true. Whilst if you're going multi-wide through a corner, you're putting a lot of extra load on the tires. You either have to slow down, which means you can't get the pass done, or you have to speed up and overdrive the car. That burns up those tires. That means that your pace is compromised. So towards the head of the field, they're looking to single file out. Back in the pack, oh, the 818 just got contacted to the rear by the 05 of Danson. Oh, and he's going to collect a couple more cars.
The 18's going to spin down to the inside. No caution yet. Now the caution's going to fly. That was whacking the 18, spinning down to the inside, as well as, I believe, the 05. Caution's going to fly for that incident. The initial contact was between the 05 and the 818, and as you mentioned, a great save there by Wesley Parker to be able to gather the thing back up, but not so lucky for a couple of other drivers, including last week's pole sitter.
Danson's dead. Danson is completely and utterly dead. He manually disconnected halfway through that just to make sure that he didn't kill anyone else. which is actually a really good job by him. Like that is difficult to do at the best of times, but to make sure that he doesn't kill anyone else, doesn't earn extra penalties. Look, obviously Matt Danson's actually an Australian as well, so a little bit of support coming from in his direction from my side of the ditch, but it's very difficult to race people closely with netcode. It is so difficult because you have to plan for it, you have to prepare for it, and you have to race as if it's a part and parcel of each and every race that you're going to go through. Unfortunately, that is just the scenario that we're presented with, and it's not very often that we get race servers run on Australian ping without having joined up to an Australian league. It's just it's racing, and I think the fair few contacts that you've actually seen, I think the netcode contact between himself and the 818 was probably about 1 to 2 feet. There was definitely daylight between those cars when the rear end of the 818 gets light. It's just it's unfortunate. It sucks. There's not much you can really do about it, though. At the end of the day, you just got to race. You got to pretend that the netcode is there around you at all times. You got to create that extra buffer.
So it looks like the 18 is going to be able to continue on. Had some pretty good damage to his machine, especially around the right rear. As you mentioned, an early night for the driver of the 05, Matt Danson. An update on other drivers that have had some issues here in the early stages of this race and fallen multiple laps down. Robert Dorman in the 46, he's currently 7 laps down. Brett Punkari, who we've been talking about, he's currently 13 laps down. Donovan Strauss, Brian Kita, Joe Burgee, these are guys that we haven't even talked about here this evening because their nights have not started out the way they planned here at Charlotte. Multiple laps down to our current leader, which is now going to be the 62 of Brian Mercurio. Jonathan Oates going to be lining up in second place, Rudy Valentine in third, and Cosmic Shinoshu in fourth. And this is going to be fun to watch here with these guys, and the fact that just before that caution came out, these 4 were mixing it up on occasion for the 3 wide for the second, third position. Now the 4 of them going to be thrown under a blanket here for this upcoming restart.
Yeah, this is a really good opportunity for Nate actually to come down pit road and grab his tires back. I do want to say the 18 machine is actually in good condition. The only issue is going to be to that right rear quarter panel where he did get that contact. So he's actually in a really good opportunity. Don't necessarily take anything too far away from him at the moment. He's going to get as much of that optional repairs done as well. Keep himself alive in terms of the race scenario. So he's got a good opportunity here to drive his way back through the field. Really, really good opportunity. Yeah, again, like we talked about, it's annoying, can't be up there, but part and parcel of racing, get out there, see what he can do. Nate Stewart, another good opportunity. Yeah, he was caught on the wrong tire strategy, but he made an attempt to throw caution to the wind, do something a little bit different. Let's see if he can pick himself up and drag himself back to the 4 again as well.
So Mercurio in that 62 machine. Talk about the battle going on for the current owner's points and the team points. It's right now Speed Incorporated trying to hold off Logitech G Atlas Esports, and right now they have nearly 800 points between themselves and that second place team. The closer battle right now is if we look at the owner standings. Logitech G has 2 drivers up inside of the top 3, the 99 and the 30. The 62 who's currently leading, they only have 300 points over second place, 400 points over third place, and with still a big chunk of the season left to go, including the playoffs, there's still plenty of opportunity for Logitech to be able to reel in Speed Inc. But as mentioned too, I mean, the 62 has had some pretty big names behind the wheel in only the first 17 races of the season, and if they continue to have the rotation of big name drivers behind the wheel, they are definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with for anybody that tries to take the team or owners championship away from them.
Yeah, I mean, have a look right throughout the team sort of points standings and the owners standings. There's lots of opportunity. Again, I'm going to keep talking about it. Opportunities is what's going to present itself, and especially with the teams in the owners championships. Individual drivers championships. It comes down to you need to be there. You need to be there each and every week. You need to do what you can to make sure that you're earning points. That is more important than ever in terms of a team and owners championship. You've got multiple cars that are earning points for you every single week. So what one big win does for the team doesn't mean as much as it would for the normal driver. The normal driver grabs that win and goes, huge bag of points. Maximum points tonight. Everyone lost points to me. That's phenomenal. The team can finish first, have their other 3 drivers finish, at the back end of things, and, well, they still lose ground to their competition. So, most importantly is to make sure that the team's out there, and generally in a team sort of standing, you're aiming to get 2 cars into the top 10, 3 cars top 15, 4 cars top 20, because that is a good points night. If you can get any better than that, it's a great points night.
Pace car lights are out. We're getting ready to go back green into the second third of this race. Lap 37 will go on the board as Brian Mercurio will lead second in points. Jonathan Oates on the front row. Mercurio waiting for the opportunity. He gets going. Oh, wow. Jonathan Oates. Huge spin of the tires there right in front of Rudy Valentine. Unfortunately, the 78 was able to give him enough space to gather it back up. That could have been a huge stack up at the front of the field.
Yeah, really good heads-up driving by everyone. It does mean that that Rudy is going to grab himself a penalty for passing on the inside. Depends if you got the move completed before the start-finish line or not. So the admins will just keep an eye on that, probably double-check it, make sure that everything's all right to go there. But ultimately, that's a really good job. Really good heads-up driving. It's difficult to pick that up early enough a lot of the time, but the 78 machine's done a phenomenal job.
Take a look back here at some drivers that have really taken the opportunity in the first third of this race to work their way up through the field. Kenny Brady in that unsponsored 97, high, wide, and handsome through turns 1 and 2, but he's picked up 26 spots. Started this race all the way back in the 34th position, and not too far behind him, very familiar black and yellow Pennzoil machine. Not the 35 this season, now in the 32 is Sean Butler. He started 39th, up 29 positions as he looks to take another spot away from Gary Watersworth in that 12 car.
Yeah, really good driving from him. Just keeping an eye, again, back on Nate Stewart. He's already trying to grab a whole bunch of positions off of this restart. I think he actually just got netcoded again, so there you go, a little bit of netcode right throughout the field. So again, drivers are just going to be just make the adjustment. He set it 3 wide into 3 and 4, so drivers being aggressive right up and down the field, attempting to give themselves best opportunities.
So far, almost 40 laps completed. We have worked 3 cautions here tonight. These drivers yet to make a green flag pit stop, and with how many drivers took the green flag here this evening, did anybody possibly, once they took the green flag, put themselves into green flag pit stop mode, or are they basically just kind of treating this as a bunch of sprints waiting for that next caution flag to fly?
Yeah, I would be, especially right now in the phase of the race that we're currently in, and I definitely feel like if you're any of those guys that opted to not take an early pit stop, they're doing it. I mean, a couple of drivers that were doing that, 056 of Luke Breitschoff and Nate Stewart are actually side by side on the track as it stands right now. So both of those drivers, not necessarily having the best race strategically wise, but they gave themselves, again, opportunities, put themselves in clear sections of the track. Big check up in 1 and 2. Again, there's battles right up and down throughout the field. Commentators' worst nightmare, but also an audience is exactly what you guys want to see, right? You want to see racing close, hard, door-to-door, wheel banging, the whole shebang. You get everything right here.
There's a big bunch of cars from 13th on back. The 52 of Casey Nemitz, the 70 of Zach Hudson. That's the 85, the Tampa Bay Lightning machine of Spencer Ray, to the inside of Ryan Naraki's Bobcat Ford Mustang. Lucas Plessis right there as well in the 45. David Cabrera in the 036. Those two in a pretty good battle for the 17th and 18th positions. And other drivers just trying to latch on to the tail end of the top 20. The 22 of Mark Kissenweather and the 756 of Cyrus Goringo.
That was the slow car down the apron once again. I think that was it the 46 heading to pit lane?
I believe it was Robert Dorman in the 46, who is at this point already 7 laps down to the race leader.
All right, so let me ask you a question, Seth. Paint scheme or livery?
I've called them both. I've, for the most part, called them paint scheme, but I did a lot of commentary of offline races with British commentators and had livery said so many times, I kind of adapted that as well. So I'm kind of 50-50 in when I call it either a paint scheme or a livery.
See, I've gone the opposite direction, but I'm the same. It means the same thing to me. I say livery. Oh, my American friends go, no, Scott, no, you can't say that. They're paint schemes. They're paint schemes. They're car livery. The livery on the car. No, it's paint scheme. You can't say that, man. That's not right. What do you mean by livery? We don't know.
There's a very easy compromise in that. Everybody's right.
It's a paint livery.
It's a paint livery. There you go. We've just coined a new phrase there. New racing term. People will be using it for years.
Paint livery, a livery scheme?
A livery
Is that better?
scheme. No, somehow that doesn't flow off the tongue quite as
You
well.
like the paint livery? Yeah, there we go.
Paint livery.
Oh, get back to the racing.
Yeah, and right now it's actually hot and heavy outside the top 10. Tristan Hagenstein trying to hold off Casey Nemitz and company for that 11th position. Up towards the front, they've kind of gotten themselves single-filed out. There's some closing battles going on for 2nd and 4th position, but no moves being made just yet. Kenny Brady, the closest battle right now, trying to peek to the inside of Wesley Parker. And remember, Parker was the guy that was nearly completely slideways over in turn 4 when we ended up having our 3rd caution. Got jacked up from behind by the 0-5, was able to save it and still keeps himself here competitive up inside of the top 5. He will lose that 4th position now officially to the 97 of Brady.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he's actually not in a little bit of conservation mode. You've got to remember that aero damage that he's got to that rear spoiler of that okay, another term disparity. Spoiler wang, which one do you want? Both of them work. The aero on that car definitely compromised. I think he's going to wear those tires out a little bit harder than everybody else around him. But have a look at Brian Mercurio. I mean, the guy's had to restart how many times now? And pretty much every single time we've seen him restart, he's just gone. Every time he's gone. He's he's about a second over Cosman Ionasu at the moment. So there's a very good opportunity for him to just get completely and utterly clear of the rest of the pack and disappear on them tonight.
Of course, Barr Visual sponsoring the FTF Grand National Series and sponsoring that number 62. So pretty cool to see one of the main sponsors of this series living large out in front here on the hood and side of that 62 Supra. I was noticing back here, you mentioned Ishinoshi moving up to 2nd place. He's under fire from Rudy Valentin. Now, Valentin, as I mentioned, he won last week at Monza. That was only his 2nd start on the season. His first start was back at the beginning of May at the Daytona Super Speedway. So only 2 starts on the season. However, his win last week moved him up 24 spots to 46 in the standings. Now, I'm not necessarily certain if there's a cap of how many starts you have to make here in this series or how high you possibly have to be in the point standings for a win to put you into the playoffs, but hopefully we'll see the 78 now that he's got a win under his belt continue to make more and more starts on the upcoming weeks, because now I guess it would get easier from here, right? Just start moving your way up through the points.
Yeah, I mean, you got to make sure that you're continuing to just grab those finishes, right? You can't just go, yeah, big result. You got to come out and continue those big results. It's I'm being corrected. Thank you. Big shout out to Matt Rodriguez, who's our producer. He's over here like, man, you got to keep up to date on your pronunciations. I'm gonna send an apology out to Cosman. It's Cosman Izono show. That's gonna mess me up the rest of the night. Cosman Yoneshio. Cosman Yoneshio. Thank you. All the drivers that are out there from alternative countries, English is my first language, and I'm still bad at it. So
I'll help you out. We'll talk about a driver whose name is easy to pronounce. Nate Stewart. I mean, you were talking about him having those fresh tires on that last restart. He's worked his way up to 10th place, and look at him, high, wide, and handsome around Gary's Waterworth. I mean, he's carrying nearly anywhere from 5 to 10 miles per hour more into the corners than anybody else in front of him.
Yeah, he's done a really good job, actually, just moving in and around traffic. He's made overtakes in both lanes as well. He's been able to run the high line with a lot of pace. He's been able to run the low line with a lot of pace. And it seems like racing a lot of the cars that he's been around as well hasn't actually taken that much out of his tires. He's very, very quick. He's, again, like I said, we were talking about the driver of the subway car early on tonight. Name's just gone from my head, the points leader as well. And how he just needed to pick things off as they come to him. Nate Stewart's allowed that to happen, but he's also made sure he showed the nose of the car and look, if you have a look through him through the corner right there, the 73 machine that's underneath him of Jonathan Oates, he's just not able to keep up with the mid corner pace that Nate Stewart has got right now. He's that car, that 13 machine, really, really fast.
I'll tell you what, the Supras are fast here tonight as well. You've got 6 of them up inside of your top 10. 1 of them currently leading this race. 3 of them up inside of your top 5. Highest running Ford is Cosman in second. Highest running Chevrolet would be Nathan Rabidok. First time we've really mentioned him up at the front. We highlighted him as a driver that's up there in the point stands and right now in the playoff grid, but now he's made an appearance up here in the 5th position and trying to reel in the remainder of the top 5. And just behind him, there is Nate Stewart in that 13 machine. Nate Stewart, 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s coming into this race. And of course, as mentioned too, another driver that currently sits in a projected playoff spot.
Yeah, a really good drive as well. So look, I mean, opportunities are gonna. I really need. Wow. I'm a broken record. Yeah, 3 wide, 92 machine gets it done through the middle. The 818. I think that aero damage is really starting to hurt his tires.
Yeah, and you saw right there, my reaction was because the 12 of Gary Waterworth, he had the room, but his left rear got down on that blue paint line, got him really squirrely, and I thought that back end was going to come around on him. Nice job of keeping that thing straight. Otherwise, we could have had a bunch of torn up race cars over in 3 and 4. Jordan Wirth's another guy that's kind of played the strategy card, stayed out after the first caution, restarted up in the race lead, and then came to pit road the following caution, and right now he's been able to work his way back up into that 9th position. So obviously the strategy helped him in terms of track position, but he's showing here that he still has a fast race car.
Yeah, very fast race car.
Oh, and now he's going to make contact with the 818. Heck of a save there out of turn 2.
Yeah, that was awesome. That I thought for sure we were dead there. That we were going to caution that time by. That is a phenomenal save. Who knows, how well they're going to go for the rest of the race now. He's got to gather himself back up. There's a lot of heat in those rear tires. He's got to settle it back down and keep that thing pointed. And he's lost a lot of momentum as well. He's nearly fallen outside of the draft range, so he's got to really work with the pack behind him to make sure that he still gives himself, again, an opportunity at this race.
Kenny Brady, I'll tell you what, this car has not stopped moving forward since they dropped the green flag. 32 positions he's picked up in 57 laps, and he's running lap times faster, if not equal, to Brian Mercurio, and that was back when he was battling Rudy Valentine for then 3rd place and Cosmin Ishinoshu for then 2nd place. He's up to the runner-up spot. He's got a 2.5 seconds to make up, and right now he is running about a 1/10 quicker than the 62.
Yeah, what a great job as well for Cosman. An update on that scenario, I'm no longer allowed to say his last name. I have to specifically refer to him by his first name. When you can't wrap your tongue around a name, it's just not happening for you, right? Yeah, keep your eyes on this gap as well. Kenny Brady as well is really starting to. He's done a phenomenal job to put his car where it is right now, but right now I can definitely tell that he's struggling in terms of tires. He's not getting the pace out of that thing that he really wants to. But this entire lead pack, they've got to be really, really careful. Nate Stewart, like you said, restarted at the rear of the field. And he's driven his way right through the field. He's now in P5, and he's right there with the 78 of Rudy Valentine. And look, Rudy's had a phenomenal race, sure, but right now, I'm not sure he can compete with Nate Stewart. And then you've got Cosman, who's trying to go for the race lead as well. These guys, keep your eyes on this battle right up here, because over the next 10 laps, it's going to develop, and we're actually probably going to get quite close to a green flag stop here in the next 10 laps, I'd say.
Yeah, most of the field, at least up here inside of the top 10, they've been out on their tires for reaching 45 laps. They'll be at that in about 2 laps' time. Nate Stewart has the freshest tires. He's been out there for 26 laps. That actually, right now, marks the longest green flag run we've been on so far. And to your point, with 40 laps to go, there's no way they're going to be able to make it the rest of the distance on fuel. So a lot of these guys are going to have to start thinking about coming to pit lane under green flag conditions. And, we looked earlier at the triple-digit track temperature that these drivers started this race out with. It's now gone down a couple of degrees, about maybe 5 degrees down to 116, but still, it's going to be an awfully slick pit road entry for a number of these guys to have to deal with here under green flag conditions, if indeed we reach that round of green flag pit stops.
Yeah, I was just having a look, actually, Nate Stewart, talking about Nate Stewart, he's just got real loose on the exit of 1 and 2. He's loose in the middle of 3 and 4 as well, trying to get back to the throttle on that thing. Kyle Lawrence is going to come down pit lane. There's a fair few guys that are going to start cycling as well. So 818, actually, talking about him some more, he's on pit road, so here comes those green flag stops, boys.
Yeah, Wesley Parker now on to the pit road. He's going to be one of the first drivers up inside of our top 20 that's going to duck onto pit lane, pulls into the attention of his crew. Yeah, it looks like they're going to at least be going with the two-tire strategy here. I would be very shocked if they don't go around, change those left sides as well. So now the window possibly might be open for these guys to make it the rest of the way. This could be the final pit stop of the day for many of these drivers. So that's what we kind of coined the money stop. They have to be very careful. And of course, well, you know, you and I, in a lot of broadcasts in the past couple of weeks, we've seen green flag pit stops get completely jumbled up by a caution right in the middle. So for some of these guys that are running the risk of the fresh tires and the quick laps to kind of leapfrog the rest of the field, they're also running the risk that they're definitely going to lose at least one lap under green flag conditions, and that a caution could put them in major jeopardy for this race win.
Major jeopardy. I mean, just doing the green flag stop has put some of these guys in a major jeopardy. Have a look at where Wesley Parker has popped out. He's right in the middle of traffic. He's going to have to navigate that. He's going to have to burn off his tires to get past a whole bunch of those guys. And he's probably, about halfway through the field in terms of where he's sitting on the racetrack in terms of traffic right now. He's the furthest up ahead. There's a whole bunch of other guys that have started to cycle through the pit lane and make their stops that are coming out behind him. So right now, I don't think it's necessarily time for that green flag stop, because you're just throwing yourself into traffic. You need to let probably the first half of the field come to pit lane first, I would say, before you would be wanting to make your stop. So I think it's going to come down to fuel. We're going to see these guys start running out of fuel and just having to pit before we actually get guys in the pit lane from here.
Like we've got a couple of other drivers towards the back of the pack that are diving onto pit road. Nobody really up here towards the front of the field, as Zach Hudson, Casey Nemitz back here, battling with the 51. I believe that is a driver that had just recently been onto pit road, Kyle Lawrence Short, in that 51 machine. Yeah, he was on pit lane 3 laps ago, so he's got fresh tires. You saw him easily fly around the outside of the 52. And here comes some more to pit road, including our pole sitter Adam Sweet. Another driver that was out in front earlier on this race, Jordan Worth, in the 92, is on pit road this lap.
Yeah, the 212 is coming down pit road as well, so there's a whole bunch of guys coming through. So this is where the 818 strategy is really going to come to the fore, but he's got to be careful. He doesn't want to get below guys on the entry to turn 3 and 4. You just see him get underneath the 00 car. He's not coming to pit road. He's got to be very, very careful, because he's got the biggest head of steam right now. So the benefit is that he will have the best tires out there and the best ability to avoid other cars. But yeah, I think our race leader is actually about to come to pit road. So remember how I said we wanted about half the field to come? I think it's time to come down pit road.
Saw Sean Butler on pit lane. A couple of other drivers hitting the pit road as well, including the 85 and the 222. Curio going to pass pit road entry this time. We'll see if he'll come into the pit lane next time by. Looks like a couple other drivers around 10th position coming in. Ooh, Ryan Shelton having to get on the brakes really quickly there as he comes in behind the 70 of Zach Hudson.
Yeah, car up in the fence actually in 1 and 2 as well. I just noticed that. So everyone's starting to come out, starting to shuffle. So let's keep your eyes peeled. Like I said, I think Wes Parker is going to be our race leader when this all cycles through. There's a couple different opportunities that are going to present themselves in the next couple laps. So 62. I thought I heard Mercurio say he was coming to pit lane. Apparently he lied to me.
Well, here comes Nate Stewart, as well as Gary Watersworth. They're going to come down pit lane. Tyler Williams and Mark Kissenweather, they were on pit road the lap before. Like these are going to be the only drivers here of our top 10 that are going to be on pit road this lap. And it looks like maybe the 97 is running awfully low there. I thought maybe he was coming to pit lane. Nope, he's going to stay out another lap there behind Brian Mercurio. And, I mean, Mercurio had, about maybe 3 seconds over second place about 25 laps ago? Look at this. Both he and the 97 are on the same straightaway now. The gap has been closed down to 0.8 of a second. If you're Kenny Brady, the fact you've been able to close up this much ground between yourself and Brian Mercurio, all in the process of working your way from 6th up to 2nd place, packaging your way through traffic. I mean, right now, Kenny Brady, he's got to be feeling good about his chances here with what could be anywhere from a 25 to 28 green flag run to the finish if we stay under the green flag here, heading for that checkered flag.
Yeah, I'm looking at Cosman's actually the guy that I'm really keeping my eyes on, because every single lap he has been faster than the leaders. So he's definitely the guy to keep your eyes on. Brady, not quite as fast that time by, definitely very much on par with the leader. He's really got to leverage that draft to his advantage. I still don't know when Mercurio is going to come to pit lane. I think it's going to be soon. Like, what? The fuel mileage? If you have a look at when the first stops started to come down, it's about 37 laps, and we're right on. If anything, we're well and truly past that marker. Actually, so never mind. Ignore me. I'm talking complete nut of nonsense once again.
Battle for third here as Jonathan Oates jumps up to the outside of Cosmic Shinoshu. And the thing is, too, I'm looking here at lap times between Wesley Parker, who right now is the highest driver that has come to pit road. Compare him to Brian Mercurio. Mercurio ran a 33.1 last time by. Wesley Parker ran a 31.6. Now, obviously, that is a lot of time in between those two in terms of speed. The question is, though, how does that translate in terms of track position? Because Wesley Parker was running back around the 9th position, I believe, when he came to pit road. Obviously, it's going to gain him some spots when we cycle around, but would it be enough ground made up to be able to bypass the 62 once we finally cycle? And if so, just how much gap is then he going to have over Mercurio? As man, things get wadded up here. Cosmo's coming to pit road, and he had him 3 wide in 2 different areas of that pack.
Yeah, so he's just trying to get to pit road. 818, where's Parker? Just past the leader, so he's now back on the lead lap. So it doesn't matter if this caution flag now flies. He is exactly where he wants to be in terms of things. 12 drivers still yet to pit in front of him. So a couple different opportunities still going to, again, cycle through. Nate Stewart, keep your eyes peeled on him. He's 4th in terms of the drivers that have made their stops at this point in time. He is the most recent of the guys to pit in that pack as well, so he will have the freshest tires, he will have the biggest opportunity. He's actually the fastest guy out on track right now is Nate Stewart, so keep your eyes on him. Oh, there you go. 84 machine, Cosmin, just dropped well in behind these guys.
Right now being scored in the 20th position, 1 lap down, as he's just now leaving pit road. He's going to lose a couple more spots there. Ryan Shelton going around for a spot. Will Rogers going around for a position.
Yeah, 23rd, 24th sort of area for Cosmin. So he's got a lot of work to try and do, but remember, he's going to have the best tires now to really get after these guys. I think if you're Mercurio, you can't... Brian Mercurio, you can't let this keep going. You need to come to pit lane right now. The option is that Kenny Brady stays out there, but you're going to put such a big margin over Kenny Brady.
Not sure who that was, but somebody pancaked the wall pretty good going into turn 1. That was just ahead of the race leader, Brian Mercurio. And it looks like Mercurio's coming to pit road this time. Second place is going to follow him, Kenny Brady. Whoa! Look at him really trying to get on the brakes there.
I don't know if either of them got their cars slowed down, though. I'm pretty sure that Brian Mercurio is going to grab a penalty.
We'll find out here. Mercurio and Brady going to give up first and second. That's going to turn the race lead over now to Jonathan Oates in that red, white, and blue Ford Mustang. So that's going to be a valuable bonus point for him for a lap led. As mentioned, second in the overall standings coming into this race. It's interesting, you've also got right behind him Nathan Rabidok, another driver that's high up there in the Grand National Series points. He's staying out, currently cycling into the second position, or make the third position behind Rudy Valentine. Tristan Hagenstein and Evan Rice, we're still waiting on them as well.
Hang on, keep your eyes on the race off of pit lane, because Brian Mercurio and the 97 of Kenny Brady were even. And Mercurio is going to let it go. So Kenny Brady wins that race off of pit lane. They come in just about dead even, and the stop for Kenny Brady was just that much better.
Wesley Parker, as you mentioned, got his way back onto the lead lap. Kenny Brady and Brian Mercurio, they're going to come off pit road 1 lap down. It's going to be interesting now to see where they are going to be in relation to Wesley Parker, because right now, Parker's being scored in 5th. These two guys are right now cycled back to 20th and 21st, as now Jonathan Oates is going to hit pit lane.
Yeah, there's 21 laps left in this, that 20 sort of lap range left in this race. They've waited way too long. They need a lot longer than that to really make the overlap sort of work in terms of them. But having said that, Wesley Parker has been caught by Nate Stewart. So if you consider the pit cycle and the way that things are going to play out, this battle right here on the track is for the effective race lead once everything cycles through, and Nate Stewart's just wanted around the outside.
He's going to take that position. 7 lap fresher tires for the 13. And as mentioned, this is probably the only pit stop these drivers are going to make here for the remainder of this race, barring us getting possibly a late caution and drivers electing to come down, maybe get some fresh rubber for a late race restart. But Yeah, you're right. This right there could have possibly been the pass for the win, but then you've also got a very fast Sean Butler who's been able to reel in these two. He's going to get around Wesley Parker for the unofficial 5th position, and he's within striking distance of the 13. So keep an eye on him. Sean Butler ran last year, was very competitive, did not find victory lane. He might be looking for his first win in the Grand National Series here tonight at Charlotte.
I'm just looking at the lap times. Sean Butler, I'm pretty sure Nate Stewart had to drive his way past Sean Butler. So that battle is gone as well, because Butler has got tyres that are 2 laps older than Nate Stewart as well. So now the tyres are starting to sort of even out in this battle. Jordan Worth, I think, is potentially in another good spot of these drivers. You're going to have Gary Waterworth, Adam Sweet that are just up behind these two guys. So here come the guys that have made their stops now. So
yeah, things have not worked out for the 97 or the 62, and I believe that Brian Mercurio, I believe you hit the nail on the head. I think he got himself a speeding penalty. He is now being scored off the lead lap, has dropped all the way down to the 31st position, and that is a tough break there for him. Obviously, they're trying to keep that 62 up there atop the standings in the team and owners points.
Hold the phone. Hold the phone, Seth. I think you've had a scoring glitch. He's in 15th at this point in time, Brian Mercurio.
Oh, yep, he just jumped up to 14th on my telemetry there. So, yep, you're right. That is a scoring glitch. He and Brady, 13th and 14th place. Remember when Cosman came down ahead of him? Well, he's now out ahead of them in that 11th spot. So if we're looking at somebody to maybe work their way up here, maybe snipe away this win from guys like Stewart, Butler, and Parker, Cosman might be the guy to do that. And a good comeback run for Adam Sweet as well. I know that he started out on the pole position and has been up towards the top 10 most of this race, but he ran into an issue when it got stacked up around the 3rd position back in the beginning portions of this race, dropped outside of the latter half of the top 10 and had to slowly, methodically work his way back up. Right now, holding down the 8th position. He looks back in his rearview mirror. Here comes a hard-charging 222 of Alex Kolonix. Cosman Ishinoshu in that mix. There's the 97 and the 62. A lot of fast machines in this pack.
This is important too, because you got to remember, Cosman's got 3 laps older tires than Kevin Brady and behind him, Kenny Brady, sorry, in behind him. They're trying to deal with lap traffic at the same time. They're trying to deal with guys that are on different pit strategies all at the same time. This battle here, I see running for the rest of the race. You'll have Cosman, Brady, Mercurio all stuck together. It looks like that Brady's just able to get off 3 and 4 just that much better.
Now, this group has only run about 5.5 seconds behind the new race leader, Nate Stewart, who just passed Tristan Hagenstein, who ducked for pit road. You saw the 18 of Zwack coming off pit lane. He was second when he headed for the pit lane entrance. So, I don't know. What do you think? 15 laps and about 5 seconds separation. Can they close up that amount of ground and be able to catch Nate Stewart?
The data's telling me yes. The data that I'm looking at is telling me it is going to be tight. They're going to catch them with like a couple laps worth to go. Just having a look at Kenny Brady, Cosman's now running an identical lap time to Nate Stewart. So Nate Stewart has definitely got a very fast race car at this point in time. The gap's now down to 4.5 seconds last time past the stripe for Kenny Brady, and it's continuing to close for him. He's just ripping time out of the leaders. 0.5 of a second he ripped out of that leader. So right, 0.5 a second, needs 10 laps to get there. Got a couple of cars to get past in the mix, but my data is telling me he should get there. Whether he can get past all these cars and get there is a different question entirely.
The 97 ahead of the 62, that could potentially be the pass for the race win if they can get up there and pass Nate Stewart in these next 13 laps. They're about to catch Wesley Parker, who was the only driver inside of the top 7 the last time by that ran slower than the race leader Nate Stewart. Everybody clocked in faster than the 13.
Yeah, keep your eyes on Matthew Swack, he's on fresh tires as well, because he only completed his pit stop in the last couple of laps. He's a lapped car tied up in all of this mess as well, so he's just got to be really, really cautious where he points his nose. I'm also wondering whether or not Brian Mercurio is just being a little bit cautious here. Obviously, he didn't win the race off a pit lane. I think he might just be trying to watch Kenny and just lose him as a lever to work his way through the pack. Then he'll have the better tires at the back end of the race. Pounce on him then.
12 laps to go and less than 2 seconds from Nate Stewart back to the driver. We just saw Kenny Brady. Sean Butler in the 32 is the meat in that Toyota Supra sandwich, as his Ford currently runs about maybe 4 car lengths ahead excuse me, of Brady's 97 machine. Sean Butler, I think he's going to be a sitting duck, because looking right here in terms of tires, everybody else behind him's got 10 to 15 lap fresher Goodyears than he does.
Yeah, and the pace difference is very, very evident. Have a look at the closing rate that they caught him into turn 1 and 2. I'm actually, you know what? I said Brian Mercurio probably had the tires left over to catch everyone. Of the last couple laps, just purely because of the 18 car that's on the alternative strategy that's in the mix right here, he actually can't make any ground. He's losing a lot of ground. So I think that 18 car might just be the thing that decides it, as well as that race off a pit lane as well.
And Matthew Zwack, not only does he have the fresh tires, but he's got something to race for at this point in time, because he is the first car 1 lap down. Still 10 laps to go. If we get a caution, he's the free pass car and gets back onto the lead lap. So he is trying to make sure that he stays ahead of another driver that's not that far behind him on fresh tires, and Tristan Hagenstein. He's just trying to make sure that if he's able to get himself a caution here, have a shot to maybe pick up some more spots, get himself a top 20, maybe even a top 15 in the closing stages. That's why he's racing as hard as he is with the race leaders. And speaking of racing hard with the leaders, this is the battle for the race lead, potentially the race win. No contest. Kenny Brady with the big run out of 2, down the back straightaway, puts Nate Stewart to the top, and he's going to clear him before they even get to the center of 3 and 4.
Yeah, great job by him. Obviously, clearly had the pace. Like I said, the big issue was catching cars, then passing cars. That was always going to be the issue. You want that low line in 1 and 2, and that low line in 3 and 4, unless you're really trying to save the tires, in which case you might run like a slightly higher line through 1 and 2, might run a slightly higher line through 3 and 4, especially on those older tires. It's about the only time you'll ever look to do that. He just had to build the momentum, pick his spot. He got there. The issue for him was that he was trying to get there on the corner exit, and I think he just about caught Nate Stewart before he could get back to the inside of him and make the overtake happen. So really good job by him.
Kenny Brady, running part-time schedule here in the Grand National Series, is not eligible for Grand National Series points, but he's making his 7th start on the season. His best finish prior to this was his first start on the year, where he finished runner-up at the Bull Ring, and now trying to see if he can pick up what would be his first Grand National Series win under the FTF banner. He's about 6.5 laps away from doing so, and has nearly 8.5 seconds between, I make that 8.5 tenths of a second, I should say, between himself and the 62 of Brian Mercurio, whose pace has really fallen off here on this run to the checkers. Great performance here tonight, though, from a number of drivers, including Nate Stewart in that 13. He's been off sequence with everybody pretty much the entirety of the night. If he can hang on, he'll be finishing in the top 3, picking up his 3rd top 5 on the season. Sean Butler, another driver that's up there trying to hold on to a playoff spot, right now in 4th. He looks back to fellow Blue Oval Cosmo Shinoshu in 5th. Gary Waterworth right now holds down 6th position. Jordan Worth and that Stacy Compton throwback right now in 7th. 8th place just exchanged hands as Nathan Rabidok got around Wesley Parker, and that is also Tristan Hagenstein trying to go around those machines on the fresh tires, and Wesley Parker back to 9th. Alex Kolonix, who actually was up in the wall over in 3 and 4 back in the first 30 laps of this race. He's now going to look like finish possibly inside the top 10, but he's under fire from Jonathan Oates in the 73 as we've just ticked on to 4 laps to go.
Yeah, I want to drive from a fair few of these guys as well. You know what helps, Seth, is when you're trying to talk, you actually unmute your microphone. It's generally quite good for broadcast quality.
This commentator 101.
Yeah, unmute the microphone. You can talk with the microphone muted. Ain't nothing coming through, baby. I think this is actually a really good drive from Alex Kolonix. I think he's just barely going to miss out on a top 10 finish, which is a shame. It was a shame to see him in the wall early on in the race. I mean, he was trying to go through wide. He gave himself the best chance. A little bit of netcode didn't help him. Unfortunately, that's just part and parcel of racing, and you got to deal with it as best as you possibly can. He's done very reasonable. Keep your eyes on Wesley Parker as well. Wesley's done a phenomenal job, I think, just to keep this car in contention. He's going to come home with what potentially looks like a top 10. It's not going to be an easy last couple of laps for Wesley, but he's got cars coming at him. That's still a shot for him, but you can definitely say for the 818 machine, when he was sideways through 3 and 4 early in the night, that he was not thinking that this is where he'd end up. Have a look right throughout the field. There's a lot of different stories that play their own way out. remember when Jordan Worth was running quite quickly and had a lot of pace beneath him. He's drifted a little bit by the wayside, no longer able to challenge for the race lead. But big wreck in 1 and 2. We're going to get that caution. No, we're not.
Cosmin Shinoshu having trouble. Oh, he's going to come right back. He's going to clip somebody. That's going to be a yellow, as I believe that is the 818 of Wesley Parker spinning around. Caution is going to fly. The leader, Kenny Brady, had not taken the white flag, so we're going into overtime at Charlotte.
Yeah, Wesley Parker just lost a lot of spots off of that. I think he's actually going to get a lot of them back.
Let's take a look and see what happened there with that number 84 shell machine. Obviously, he backed it into the outside wall. You could clearly tell from the rear end damage sustained. And this was trying to shoot the middle. It did not go correctly. That's the 32 of Sean Butler up ahead. The 27 Tristan Hagenstein. And they're trying to get around Victor Valley in the 82. And it looks like maybe Cosmin was not quite clear on the 27. Got hooked in the right rear. Then follow-up contact with the 93 of Rabidok. Then there's the contact there. I think that was Ethan Rice trying to give room to the 84, trying to merge back up onto the track, and just barely caught the left rear quarter panel of Parker's 818.
Yeah, there's a lot to unravel there. You know, people trying to give each other space. Ultimately, a lot of what's caused that is just drivers not lifting. They just want to get through it. You know, I think if the drivers potentially just called it a little bit sooner, maybe grabbed a couple of breaks, they could probably settle it down. It's one of those racing deals, though. You know, the 84, yeah, sure, he comes back up, Cosmin, you know, to try and make sure that he minimizes the losses. But ultimately, the car's always going to drift that way. You look at the speed that he's doing, and people at the end of the day can be disappointed with the way that he's merged back up on the track, but he's carrying a lot of speed through a flat section of the corner. He's always going to come back up onto the racetrack. There's nothing you can do. You need to prepare for that. I just don't think that a lot of the guys were prepared to give him that sort of space, and the 98 machine makes a very late move, and it's very unfortunate the contact he makes with Wes Parker, but ultimately Wes Parker's got a good opportunity here as well to grab some more spaces back, potentially, if he's quick on this restart.
Well, no surprise. Everybody came down pit road here under this caution. We had, I believe, 25 drivers that were on the lead lap at the time that caution came out. And I think every single one of them hit pit road here, going to take on another set of tires for what's going to be maybe our only attempt at a green-white checker. We do have multiple attempts here. So, yeah, I mean, why not come down and make sure you've got that grip underneath you and see what's gonna get you there. I mean, I love this call that everybody decided to come down pit road. I think we kind of got a little bit of a taste of just how good the old tires are against fresh tires early on in this race, and there was no advantage whatsoever. So everybody learning from that, and I'll tell you what, field was spread out. It was looking like it was going to be the 97's race to lose, and all of a sudden he's got a bunch of hungry drivers on his back bumper here for, as mentioned, possibly one of 3 overtime green-white checkers.
You know, I think this actually really plays into Nate Stewart's hands. He's showed that he's had a lot of pace tonight. He just never found himself on a good strategy to attack the leaders. He had to do something different in the early phases of the race. The way it played out, he was going to end up with a 3rd place finish. And that was actually a really, really good strategy call and well executed from him. Now, he's got the opportunity for a race win. You know, before he didn't have that opportunity. He was just racing for best of the rest, if you like that moniker, like that terminology. Now it's a big opportunity for him. Other drivers as well. I mentioned the 818. The 818 was lagging on those tires. Really not enjoying his run towards the back end of the race, falling through the field like a rock. He took that opportunity to pit earlier than everyone else. He felt like he was in a car that he wasn't competing in terms of tire management. Gave himself that opportunity. Again, gets collected here, so he's going to be a little bit down on aero, but I think he's also got the pace to really race for these guys on similar sorts of tires. So keep your eyes on him.
Well, these drivers are, in 2 weeks' time, going to take a little bit of an off week, be able to catch their breath, but next week, they're going to have to go to work at the Nashville Fairgrounds. So that is going to be a bit of a curveball for these drivers to have to deal with. Of course, we've got to finish out this race here tonight at Charlotte Motor Speedway. The way they're going to line up here for this first attempt at an overtime green-white checkered, Kenny Brady will be the race leader, Brian Mercurio in second, Third place going to be Nate Stewart, so Toyotas sweep the top 3 for this restart. The Ford of Sean Butler lines up in 4th place. 5th is going to be Nathan Rabidok. 6th, Gary Waterworth. 7th, Jordan Worth. Alex Kolonix in 8th. Jonathan Oates in 9th, and Rudy Valentin is going to line up in 10th. Wesley Parker, as you mentioned with that spin, they let him get his positions back. He's going to be restarting up in 11th. Ryan Shelton, who ran into some early issues in the beginning stages of this race, he's up to 12th. 13th will be Zach Hudson. 14th, Lucas Ploesi. Then Cirrus Garingo in 15th. Casey Nemitz 16th. Will Rogers 17th. David Cabrera, we haven't mentioned him tonight. He's up in 18th. Spencer Ray in 19th. And 20th will be Matthew Zwack. Looks like officially with those drivers we saw take the wave around there, we're going to have 32 drivers on the same lap as the race leader when we go back green. Again, the green-white checkered rules. These drivers will take the green flag. They have to make it around and take the white flag. If they take the white flag, next flag ends the race. But if the race leader does not come around, take the white flag, and a caution comes out, we rack them up, and we do it again at least 2 more times. Once we get to that third and final green-white checkered, the next flag at that point would end the race officially. Here we go, green-white checkered at Charlotte. Brady up through the gears, and he's got himself a launch onto the front straightaway.
Yeah, Nate Stewart actually didn't get as good a launch as I think he was hoping for. Is going to manage to grab that 3rd spot. Keep your eyes deep in the field as well. I'm expecting a lot of 3-wide action down the backstretch.
Take a look and see if they're going to fan out here. Double wide around the 5th position. Back there looking 3 wide with Wesley Parker in the 818. He's going to put Kolonix there, and the caution's going to come out. Spencer Ray, I believe, is in the middle of this one on the back straightaway. Caution's going to fly. We did not make it back to the white flag. We re-rack him, set him up for another opportunity here at a green-white checkered overtime finish.
Yeah, so Spencer Ray was the car that was around and on the inside of things, so he's definitely going to be heavily affected by this. But have a look at all those cars that have just gotten their lap back, just gotten their wave around. All those guys now get an opportunity to go through, grab themselves some fresh tires. I think we're going to see another green-white checkers. I don't think we're quite over just yet. I don't think number 2 is going to end it.
Car behind the 85 was the 18 of Matthew Zwack, but from that look, it looked like possibly the 85 was already out of shape of Spencer Ray before the 18 even got to his back bumper. Of course, he then kind of assisted that sideways car all the way around, but I don't think that he initiated the contact there. I think that 85 was getting ready for a solo spin on his own.
He was in the process of saving it, but he lost enough momentum, and I don't think the 18 really had anywhere he could really go, because he was going to get run over. If he lifted, he's going to get run over by the cars behind him as well. There was a little bit of space. Matthew Zwack probably had an opportunity to potentially, settle himself back up, but it's on the 85. Definitely a solo sort of spin. The 18, not much of an opportunity to really keep himself nice and clean. Whether or not he's lost RPM, whether or not he's got engine damage, he's in a good spot now, Matthew Zwack. So he's up to 18th on that last restart. I think he was in the high 20s, so he's grabbed a lot of spots there.
A bunch of drivers down pit road. Those drivers that you mentioned with this caution saving them, taking the wave around. I saw the 48 rather of Andy Margot. Well, I believe he was down pit road. Adam Sweet down pit lane. Spencer Ray, who brought out that caution. Evan Rice, Ryan Naraki, Rich Jameson. They all are taking the opportunity to come down pit road and get those fresh tires. Justin Malello might be down pit road the next time as well, as he just went around the race leaders, is the lucky dog. So 33 drivers will be on the lead lap here for the second attempt at a green-white checkered. And of course, as well, with that caution coming out there with 2 laps to go, we fully expected that we were going to see that type of racing, double wide, 3 wide, aggressive racing to the checkered flag. So not surprised to see a couple of late cautions come out here, but with the fact we had 45 drivers take the green flag here tonight, only 6 caution flags, and really 3 of them coming out during the long stretch of this race, and 33 drivers on the lead lap. I mean, that's a testament to these guys here tonight and the way they've been able, for the most part, to keep it clean, what Charlotte's really known for, the long green flag run and then the fireworks at the end.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted a Charlotte race, I mean, you got it. This is very indicative of what you would expect coming to Charlotte, isn't it? That's a really good point, Seth. I'm having a look through the field now. I'm having a look at a few different guys. The 222 of Alex Colonis. I think I've got my eye on him to see if he can grab a couple spots. I think he lost maybe 1 or 2 spots on that last green-white checkers, so he's going to be on the outside this time by potentially, depending upon where he chooses. Choose rule and effect for these guys as well. So when you actually see them driving below the apron, going through 1 and 2, coming to the green flag. So as the lights go out in the safety car, what's going to happen is you're going to see drivers choose their lane. They go to the left of the out of bounds line through 1 and 2. That means they're going on the inside. They go to the right hand side of that, up to the racetrack. That means they want the outside lane. So that is the choose rule in effect. Keep your eyes on these guys, because whilst a bunch of them will definitely want to get to that inside, I have a feeling we're just going to go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2 right the way through, because it's Charlotte. Both lanes are good, but some drivers are going to want the inside lane. But throwing yourself a couple of lanes back, that's not going to. You're going to lose too much, and you're not going to really gain enough. There's not going to be enough time to get that all back.
Oh, we saw Kenny Brady there on that last restart. I mean, he mashed the throttle and he was gone. Did he overplay his hand a little too soon there, or does he maybe change things up a little bit this time in wherever he chooses to launch, try and catch everybody off guard again?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, you can't show your entire hand. You've got to mix it up. You've got to keep everyone guessing. A comment coming through from Jake Poulin over on our YouTube channel as well. Just a heads up, on the 3rd attempt at the green-white checkers, the caution is not thrown for any incident whatsoever. So it's a race back to the finish. So here you go. Here's that green-white checkers. The 78 machine actually opts to go to the outside lane. There's a few guys that are actually going to opt inside. So there's a couple of different stack-ups right throughout the field, so keep your eyes on that one.
The way they're going to line up, it looks like here, with certain drivers around the middle portion of the top 10, electing to choose a lane that they would not normally be starting in with that choose rule. It's going to be Kenny Brady on the inside of row 1 with Brian Mercurio. Nate Stewart lines up alongside Sean Butler in row 2. Row 3 finds Jordan Worth to the inside of Gary Waterworth. Then row 4 is Nathan Rabidok and Jonathan Oates. Rudy Valentine, last week's winner, and Alex Kolonix are going to be the top 10 here for our second attempt at an overtime green-white checker. Our race leader, Kenny Brady, he did race last week at the Monza Oval, but he finished in the 40th position. He's had a much better night here at Charlotte, worked his way up to the front, has not looked back, but can he lead the most important laps here, the closing laps coming to the checkered flag? We may not have seen our last caution either. Green flag, back out, overtime attempt number 2.
I tell you what, Nate Stewart got a much better jump that time by. He's definitely going to get to the inside of Brian Mercurio. Whether or not he can get past, I've got my money on him. And that 92 machine of Jordan Worth, he's coming for that 3rd spot as well.
Stewart's going to clear for that position down the back straightaway, looking back at him from the bumper of the 97 of Kenny Brady. Battle's going to be for 3rd place. That's where Jordan Worth's going to look to the inside of the 62. Can't quite get there. Mercurio's going to tuck in line in that 3rd spot.
Yeah, so getting through nearly that entire lap so far. We are going to go to the checkers this time by. There's a slow car for 3 and 4, but it does not matter. Next flag is going to end it. Admins are going to make sure that they do not throw the caution here. They'll want these guys to race this out.
0.4 of a second, about maybe 4.5 car lengths back to now a side-by-side battle for 2nd place. That could be all she wrote. That could be giving this win to Kenny Brady in the 97. Mercurio and Stewart going to battle for the runner-up spot along with Jordan Worth. Off turn 4, career win number 1 in the Grand National Series.
There's a noise in it.
Kenny Brady's
going to
win.
The 62 is going to grab P2 there is like a foot in P2.
24 1,000ths, it's saying on our telemetry unofficially. And Kenny Brady is going to be the winner of the Kickin' the Tires 148.5 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. His 8th career start translates to his 1st career win. Not going to spend an awful lot of time thanking sponsors down there in Victory Lane, I don't think. But man, that car, unsponsored or not, it was fast.
It was. And I mean, it was the race off of pit road that really won that race tonight. I mean, you have a look at the difference between him and Brian Mercurio in pit lane. Mercurio come in, lock the tires up. He was a little slow getting onto pit lane. Kenny Brady made a lot of time up. He made a lot of time. He was, nearly a full second back when he came to pit road? He exited pit lane side by side, slightly ahead on the exit of pit lane. There wasn't much in it, maybe a couple of inches. Drove it away out there. Brian Mercurio recognized that he was not going to get that place. He was not going to win that fight off of pit lane. Slotted in behind him, and Brady ran away with it from there. The last race off of pit road, he won that one as well. So if you want a man that's going to drive away from you on pit lane, keep your eyes on Kenny Brady.
It was looking like, at least in the first half of this race, Brian Mercurio was going to be the guy to beat, but Kenny Brady worked his way methodically up into the top 10, eventually the top 5, and actually reeled in Brian Mercurio, got around him before that green flag pit stop cycle began, and as you mentioned, won that battle off of pit road between himself and Mercurio as well. So had a car that was really good on the long run and really benefited from the fact that we had about, 60, nearly 70 laps of green flag racing there in the middle portion nearing the end of this race.
Yeah, just a great drive. I mean, alternatively, you can have a look back through the field and you can say, the 818 of Wesley Parker put himself in a really good spot, finishes just outside the P10 mark tonight. He's going to finish in P11, so that's a disappointing result from him. He definitely had the opportunity to finish a little higher up tonight. I was hoping he might grab some spots in that final restart. Didn't work out for him. Jordan Worth showed his nose there. I thought for half a minute that he'd gotten underneath Brian Mercurio, and that was it. We weren't going to see Mercurio on the podium. Mercurio drives it away from him, gets it back up, gets it past Nate Stewart on that last corner too. So a really, really good drive. Nate Stewart defended for his life. Just couldn't quite get that. That was an awesome race to the line. And I mean, exactly what you said earlier. It's a very Charlotte race. We got that long green flag run. We had to worry about tires. We had to worry about a green flag stop. We got some awesome racing to the finish, albeit with 2 green-white checkers. It was just an amazing race all the way through.
And how about Toyota here tonight as well, sweeping 4 of the top 5 positions, 1st through 4th, for the Supras. Sean Butler, the non-Toyota, up here inside the top 5, finishing in the 5th position. And I noticed a name that popped up into our top 10 late. How about Zach Hudson in the 70? We kind of saw him lingering around the top 15. At one point, he was back outside of the top 20, but he's going to sneak out a solid run here tonight, just ahead of Nathan Rabidok, finishing in 9th, and Rabidok there in 10th place. And also as well, we talked about the fact that Andrew Schwartz ran into trouble here tonight. He really was not able to come back from that. The 67 finishing 52 laps down in the 37th position. The guy's trying to run him down for the overall points lead. Jonathan Oates, 8th place here tonight. So things could tighten up for that points lead heading to Nashville next week.
Yeah, points lead. I mean, you obviously, at this stage of the championship, with so much of the season left to go, so many guys that are trying to lock themselves into a playoff spot as well. Just having that championship lead, just having that opportunity to say, hey, look at me, look how well I'm doing so far. There's a lot going on, and a lot of these drivers have definitely come out over the last couple of weeks and showed their worth, and a lot of these drivers are starting to fall a little bit by the wayside. The championship and the championship scenarios is changing week to week, so you got to keep your eyes on that.
So there, the 222 of Alex Kalanik's going to be finishing in the 20th position, so he may not have necessarily been without incident there under that final green-white checkered. He was up just outside of the top 10 on that restart, and is going to be finishing this race just in the very tail end of the top 20, so he might have possibly been put up into the wall or something, lost a ton of momentum, but tough break there for him. He was definitely looked like online to maybe finish up inside of the top 10, but yeah, things are definitely going to close up for that points lead because Jonathan Oates, Nathan Rabidok, and Sean Butler all finished up beside the top 10. Those 3 were respectively 48, 56, and 78 points behind Andrew Schwartz coming into tonight. So the points gap is certainly going to close between those 4 for the points lead heading into next week at the Nashville Fairgrounds. Then these drivers will take a week off before preparing themselves for North Wilkesboro the following Saturday night. Let's see if we can talk with some of our top 3 finishers here tonight. I believe this might be, I'm going to have to double check on this, but I believe this might be his best finish of the season. It is his 3rd finish inside of the top 5. Let's talk with the driver, the number 13, Nate Stewart. Hey Nate, it's Scott and Seth up here in the FRN booth. You got us?
Sorry, my mic was muted. Yes, I got you. Hello.
Man, I'll tell you what. We knew that Charlotte, coming into this race, it's usually a strategy type race, and you definitely played the strategy from the get-go, off sequence with everybody, pretty much since the drop of the green flag. We saw you stay out under some cautions. We saw you pit when most drivers stayed out under other cautions. Even saw you play some strategy there when we had the cycle of green flag pit stops. You bring your way up there into a solid third place finish, and we mentioned the fact that you're also up there in playoff contention. So how important was it to be able to make sure this 13 had a good run here tonight?
It was extremely important to have a good run tonight for sure. Haven't necessarily had the best of luck this season, and could have locked myself in last week at Monza, but got dumped coming out of 4 on the last lap. That's just how it goes. So to rebound and come to one of my favorite tracks in Charlotte, I did win my Road to Pro split here, so I just want to throw that out there. So third here is a pretty good accomplishment as well, especially coming second to Kenny, Brady, and Brian. You know, those two guys are really good, and I'm still trying to work on my craft and all that. So getting third here is a statement for me, and it proves to me that, you know, I'm slowly getting better as the weeks go on.
It's not an easy night tonight as well, and I think Seth hit the nail on the head by saying, look, I mean, especially for you, you were off sequence in terms of strategy. We had that couple of sequences of cautions in a row, and then you found yourself one of the only, I think, the only driver staying out at that stage, and you fell through the field. What's the goal when you're in a position like that? Is it trying to defend as for your life, or is it more damage limitation? Is it trying to keep the car clean? Is it trying to just make sure you've got that set of tires behind the pit wall, but you've still got the car to come to them that you can race back up to the front?
So basically what happened with all that was on the first restart or whatever, whenever it came to the choose cone, I ended up hitting the line, and then that was an EOL. So we ran a few laps, got another caution. Everybody else decided to pit. I stayed out because I wanted to stay up front just in case we had a flurry of yellows. And then, you know, we kind of got that. Obviously, I fell through the field. I was hoping to be around 20th whenever the next caution came out, and I was in 22nd when it did. So I came in, put 4 on it, and then drove from like, I want to say I restarted in like the low 30s, or no, the high 30s, and then drove all the way to 4th, and then I really didn't know what to do because I was kind of in that wall because Rudy and Cosman were kind of being roadblocks, and I couldn't really get around them all that well. So I got forced up high and says, you know what, screw it, I'm going to pit. And after I cycle out as a leader, hopefully a caution comes out. And, well, unfortunately, it didn't play out that way. But we were third, going to finish third. If the green stayed out, then we had that late caution, and then it was just green, white, checkered. It was 2 GWCs from there, and I was really trying to go for second right there, but nonetheless, I'm still extremely happy to come home in third. It's my best ever FTF finish, so getting close to that number 1.
Yeah, Nate, you know, obviously you had yourself good track position for those late couple of green-white checkers, but you know, a lot of times I like to take the opportunity to go inside the head of the driver for those that are watching the broadcast. And you know, you guys had a long green flag run there. You got the opportunity to make green flag pit stops. It was looking like we might go green all the way to the checkers. Then all of a sudden, that late caution comes out. You have yourself a green-white checkered. Another caution comes out. You have to set up for another green-white checkered. How difficult is it as a driver to put yourself from a long green flag run mentality to all of a sudden, oh wow, now I've got to get myself prepared for these short sprints to potentially the checkered flag?
Really, it kind of depends on. I mean, yeah, it's difficult. Not gonna lie. Because whenever we were in that long green flag run, I was just in a rhythm of ripping the blue line, and then, you know, I was just content with where I was going to finish. And then, you know, that late caution came out, and I'll admit I was a little bit mad because I just wanted to, you know, have a silent finish in third and all that. But that late caution came out. So then mentalities had to switch from the mentality under green was, you know, just keep the car under you, keep the 4 tires on it, all that. Don't make any too risky moves, and then just come home clean car and all that. And then like caution comes out, and it's like, well, shot to win is right there. You got to do everything you can to take it. So it's polar opposites essentially, in my opinion, because you have the rhythmic portion, and then you have the no strings attached portion, I guess we could call it, because it's two very different sides of the driver's head, and sometimes it can be difficult to differentiate from the two. I'm just lucky I was able to get into send it mode, but not too hard, because I have a knack for wrecking myself whenever I go too hard. So I'm glad I was able to just come home clean and try to give Brian the door to try to keep second, but he was too far ahead of me.
Well, we knew the Toyotas were fast, and your Super was definitely fast here, and it was a lot of fun to actually watch you work your way through the field. And yeah, congrats on your best finish of the season here as well in the Grand National Series. We're now going to give you the opportunity for some thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
All right, so first off, I want to thank Lowline Racing. They're the team that's been backing me throughout Road to Pro and everything else this season. Brian's one of my teammates, so thanks to him for the clean racing and stuff. Thanks to the FTF admins for putting this on. Thanks to you guys for broadcasting. I want to say thank you to all my Twitch followers. We're currently at 491. Go follow me at twitch.tv/doitfordale. Apex Action Racing Photography. That's my little photography business. All my sponsors: Slipstream Creative Media, Victory Lap Racing Designs, Corson Suckenik 350, and just everybody out there that supports me week in and week out. Sometimes I feel like I don't deserve it, but I'm glad to have such good people around me, and I'm just glad I can start. I'm starting to back up the results I know I can get, and hopefully that'll lead to me getting better in the future, and hopefully start bringing home some wins on FRN later on this season.
Well, that's Nate Stewart. He'll carry some good momentum into Nashville next week with a third place run here tonight, Charlotte. Once again, congratulations there, Nate, and enjoy this top three finish, best finish of the season, and we look forward to talking to you some more down this home stretch.
All right, thank you, and thanks for the follow on Twitch, by the way.
Let's see if we can now get our second place finisher here tonight, Brian Mercurio. Hey, Brian, it's Scott and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yep.
All right, well, man, I know that obviously you're in the middle of that hot and heavy battle trying to win the team championship and the owners championship. Also, we're looking for your third win of the season here in the Grand National Series, but we saw that 97 continue to creep up to your back bumper, and then it kind of became a mano-a-mano between the two of you. What little more did you need to be able to keep with them there in those final green-white checkers?
I gotta unteach myself some bad habits that I still have lingering around from my days running Enter 2003. I try to break them pretty much every race I do, and pretty much how it works on this tire is you can't go 100%. You got to back it down a little bit. And how I used to drive it all the time was try to I'd like to back up the corner and try to get the run off, but you really can't do that here. And I knew I was burning my right front a little bit more than I wanted to, so I was instinctually going back on bad habits, and Kenny caught me, which is cool. And then one thing too was because I qualified second, and the pit exit is super early here at Charlotte. You don't even get up to speed unless you're like the third or fourth stall. So had we both been going pit road speed, I could have gone in front of him. But I wasn't even at 45 by the time I got to pit exit. So what normally I would have been in front of him, he got the spot, or he got positioning on the right of me on pit exit, and was able to just hold that. And just because there's that little bit of bank, he can't really do anything. So he deserved it. I'm kind of frustrated because I did something. I threw that away for no reason. That's really all it is.
It's a difficult. You're talking about breaking bad habits. It's one of the most difficult things about being human to do, right? Because you you've put so much effort and time and focus, and you've been doing things this way for so long. How do you go about breaking those bad habits, especially on those corner entries?
A lot of practice. That's the main thing. It's just running laps, and it's one thing to be able to just kind of run laps, kind of almost like mindless, where it's more muscle memory and you're just kind of in the flow of things. You got a rhythm going. You're just kind of doing things without like really thinking about it. But when you have those bad habits and you're trying to stay aware of them the whole time while you're driving, that's just another layer of thinking that you have to do on top of everything else you're already doing. And it can throw you out of whack. It can take you out of rhythm. It prevents you from kind of just driving and doing your normal thing. So when you're kind of consciously adding on another layer to what you're doing, it's a whole nother dynamic. It's something I got to work on. You got to put in laps. You got to tell yourself something. In my mind, the way I want to do things makes sense, and it should make sense. It's not always possible. Like I said before, with just the way the current tire is on the oval cars here. So, yeah, I have things I want to do my way, but you want to do fast and you want to do it right. If you want to be fast, say do fast. If you want to be fast and you want to do things right, you gotta play the game. So I gotta get better. Nothing against Kenny or anything here. I'm frustrated at myself for doing something I know I shouldn't be doing.
Well, Brian, up here in the booth, things that look simple to us that you guys do out there can sometimes be a nightmare for a driver in the cockpit. We saw that you guys were dealing with triple-digit temperatures out there today. Obviously, the track was going to be slick, and we saw that you were going to be preparing for a round of green flag pit stops. We know that this is not one of the easiest tracks to come off from that high banking off of turn 4 onto a rather slick, flat apron to head for pit road entry. Plus the fact we saw a lot of drivers, when they hit that blue paint line, their cars would get out of shape, and of course you had to cross that to be able to get onto pit road. Was it as easy getting onto pit road entry as it kind of looked from up here in the booth, or did you have some things you had to keep an eye on, make sure the back end didn't step out?
Yeah, I just knew I could take it easy. It's kind of me and Kenny in the position to win the whole time once I saw the guys behind us pit a little bit earlier. So, I knew that it just went green there for a while, and it stayed green a good bit after stops, that we'd be able to make up that time and more on everybody. So all about just taking it easy here. You do have the wall on pit entry here for the oval. So that's just another thing you got to keep in mind. Super easy to overshoot it and slide into that wall on the right side, or try and back it down too early and put it in the inside. So just all about taking it easy. I knew I was in a good position. I was pretty much, like I said, in a position to get first or second. So try to take it easy. Don't really need to do too much. Could I have gone better and maybe try to keep that gap over Kenny a little bit more? Probably, but and getting wins is nice. But then again, I'm trying to race for the team here and get as many points as I can. So, speeding is the worst thing I could have done. I'll take a second place points over finishing 25th or whatever if I got a speeding penalty and I deserve that. So that's about it.
Definitely helping out your team there as far as battling for that owners and team championship. Second place here tonight for Brian Mercurio. Brian, we're now going to turn the microphone over to you and let you do some thank you, sponsors, and shout outs.
Always want to thank Dalen Barr here, Barr Visuals, not only being a series sponsor, not only being on my car here. He's been a personal sponsor of mine. The scheme that we share in the 62 car was the scheme that I ran back in the Pro Series last year. So the scheme means a lot to me. I always love to represent Dalen and everything he does to support FTF and sim racing in general. You guys for putting on the broadcast. Kyle and Blake for letting me run. I always love taking a GNS car out here on these Saturday nights, running a little bit of race. Even if the competition's not as strong as it would be in the Cup Series, still always good to race. Still always get to get some good competition like I did tonight with Kenny. FTF for putting the race on, and I think that's about it for all I got.
Well, Brian Mercurio, runner-up here tonight at Charlotte Motor Speed. Once again, congratulations there, Brian. And obviously, with the speed we saw of this car here tonight, don't think it's going to be all that long before we see you pick up win number 3 on the season here for the Grand National Series. Congrats on a great run.
Thanks, boys.
Of course, Brian Mercurio talking about the competition, the Cup Series, where he's actually leading the points there as well. So these starts down the Grand National Series obviously must be helping him in the circuits that he turns up in the Cup Series as well. Still searching for his first win in the Cup Series, but got a feeling that might not be too far away as well. Let's go down to a guy that did pick up a victory here tonight. He's in victory lane, and that's Kenny Brady. Hey, Kenny, it's Scott and Seth up here in the booth. You got us?
Hey, man. How are you?
Well, we're doing good, but I'll bet you're doing great, man. How about that? Your first win in the Grand National Series here tonight, but sometimes cars are fast. Your car, I'm going to call it sneaky fast, because we were looking at your car when it started popping up around 7th. Next thing I know, I'm looking, you're up in 4th, then you're up in 2nd, then you're on the back bumper of the race leader. I mean, that car was really good on long run speed, whether it was in clean air or in traffic.
Yeah, man. It was a blast out there. Charlotte's my favorite and best track, so it was definitely fun to go through the field from the start. And I don't know, I hated that we kept on having those cautions because it would even everyone out. I was hoping we'd get a long run, which we got, and was able to go through the field and got to Brian. And once Brian pitted, I pitted. I didn't really want to risk losing time or whatnot. So yeah, we were ripping.
I mean, an interesting race tonight. Obviously, multiple cautions. You've sort of got a race managed right throughout that first stage of it. But then the race comes down to what is effectively a race through pit lane. And you won that not only the first time by, you got the track position on the right-hand side on the exit of pit lane, but then you won it multiple times back to back to back as well. I mean, that's really got to fill you with confidence, knowing that you can make time up not only on the track, but also on pit lane.
Yeah, the green flag pit stop went good. I feel like having a pit stall farther in the back, I feel, is a better advantage than I think Brian at the first pit stall, and I got right next to him coming out, and I had the preferred line, so I feel like that definitely helped. It was definitely an advantage. It was nice to get the lead there, and Brian and I were even, and then I just started to pull away from him. And then obviously, that caution kind of shook things up. But, for the most part, was pretty good on pit road tonight as well. So.
Okay, we had that long green flag run with the green flag pit stops in between. And a lot of times at the mile and a half tracks, when we end up having those green flag pit stops, a driver on fresh tires is going to come across a driver that's on older tires and really kind of changes up the approach they have going into a particular corner. We saw that you had to work your way through the field early on in this race with drivers on equal tires as you did. How much of a difference is it working your way through when everybody else is on an equal footing, as opposed to what we saw there when you were trying to cut your way back up to the race lead after you'd made that green flag pit stop?
Yeah, some of those guys were they were burning their tires up, and they were going too fast early. And I just tried to stay on the bottom, stay on the blue line where the grip was, and just try and stay consistent, not burn my tires up. I thought the setup was going to build loose, but it was actually pretty tight throughout the whole run. So I was just trying to conserve the right front, going through those guys when we were even. And when I'm on newer tires or other guys are on newer tires, it just depends on where you catch them. Sometimes if you're on newer tires, it could be frustrating to catch them in a wrong spot, or vice versa. They catch you in a wrong spot, but we're all running our own race, so that's just how it goes sometimes. But for the most part, I got lucky with some lappers and some guys passing me, and made it work.
So looking ahead here on the schedule, obviously there's a number of other mile and a half tracks that will be coming up here. I mean, with the win here tonight, does that build the confidence level going into those races and those racetracks? I mean, is this the last time that we see the 97 in Victory Lane this season, or do you think we're going to see it in Victory Lane once again before the close of the year?
Definitely not. I feel like I can win a few more races. It just depends on the track and who races and who's in there. Brian's a great competitor, so it was definitely a confidence booster to be able to beat him tonight. He's definitely really good in Road to Pro and was a pro last year, so that's definitely a confidence booster. But yeah, it just it depends. I don't really know what tracks are coming up, but we'll see how we do in the future, and I'll continue to run. So we'll see.
Well, you let a barrage of Toyotas up there inside the top 5, picking up your first victory in the Grand National Series here tonight at Charlotte. Kenny, we're now going to give you the opportunity for some thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
Yeah, so I didn't have any sponsors on the car tonight. I was actually making a paint before the race and didn't get it finished. But I want to thank Amuka Esports. I want to thank RycoMotorsports.com, who are coming on board for round 2 of Road to Pro. I want to thank High Performance Motorsports for all their support and the open side of things. I just want to thank those guys.
Well, Kenny Brady is your winner tonight at Charlotte Motor Speedway in the Kicking the Tires 148.5. Congratulations, Kenny, on a great performance, a dominating run there in the second half, and congratulations on being able to pick up your first career win here in this series. Looking forward to seeing what you continue to do here as we draw closer to the playoffs and, of course, the end of the season.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
And so as Kenny Brady continues to celebrate down there in victory lane, Scott, some closing thoughts here tonight after what we saw a pretty typical race here at Charlotte and some post-race fireworks, if you will. So a couple of shootouts to decide this race winner.
I think we touched on it a bunch through the broadcast as well. It was a good race. We got to see the chess battle. We got to see the tire battle. We got to see the strategy battle out on circuit. We also got to see who could drive through the field multiple times. And at the end of it, we also get to see who had the raw pace to be able to win the race as well. So, look, I mean, if you're going to ask me about, what more could I have wanted from tonight, I'm good. It had it all. It was such a phenomenal race. We got to see phenomenal drivers of such high skill level just go head-to-head. It was just awesome, man. Awesome right the way through.
Coming off the heels of the crazy race at Monza last week and now on the horizon of the short track racing at Nashville Fairgrounds next week. I mean, obviously drivers here tonight that got good runs, they're breathing a sigh of relief. A lot of these guys that are up there at the top of the point standings, they're trying to clinch themselves playoff spots, but now they're looking ahead and thinking, there's some that are going to be seeing Nashville Fairgrounds as a survival track. There are others that are thinking, oh boy, yeah, short tracks. That's in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about it. We talked about it last week at Iowa. I believe it was Backfire Sim Racing. Iowa, what that caused in the drivers, it caused a few of them to go a little bit senseless. This is a different kind of field. The drivers in it are very, very different. And of course, in the Xfinity cars, creates that different kind of driving style as well. It's the cars that you can make the moves are a little bit easier to make. The drivers really show themselves more because you've not necessarily got the car with the most grip, but you've still got a car that wanders around a little bit on the road. You got a car that's not as finely tuned as the current Cup Series cars are. I think it creates better racing. And look, to be perfectly honest with you, going next week into a short track race at Knoxville of all places, we've got a firework about to just be set off.
What a race for Flatout Racing Network's coverage to begin here for the FTF Grand National Series presented by Barr Visuals as Kenny Brady takes the checkered flag here tonight at Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's been a great one here at the D-shaped 1.5 mile track. Scott, appreciate you joining me in the booth.
Oh man, it's an honor actually to be in the booth and commentating these guys tonight. What a great call, what a great race, what fun we've had.
Absolutely. Thanks to everyone that tuned in tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed our coverage. Tune in next week as we'll be bringing you coverage from the short track of the Nashville Fairgrounds as these drivers continue down the second half of the regular season, preparing themselves for the playoffs. Green flag will be scheduled to fly next Saturday evening at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For Scott Rankin, I'm Seth Cole. We'll see you guys next week as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.